Hi, this is Nancy with On Point TV. It is a beautiful day here in Michigan. It's a Sunday afternoon, and I want to talk to you today about this new die cutting system that I've learned about. Now, this comes from a company called Crafter's Companion. Crafter's Companion is a company that was started by Sarah Davies, or Sarah Davies, I think is how you say it, and it's in the UK. And they've brought the machine over here to the United States. They have mostly paper crafting stuff, just about everything they do. Sarah is very, very into making cards and so many different things that she does with cards. Absolutely beautiful. And they've got tons and tons of paper supplies. And then they've started coming into mixed media. And what I've been told is that she kind of found out about quilting and has grown to love it. So I'm not the slightest bit surprised that somebody learns about quilting and just can't stop doing it. Well, she's realized that her machines and the supplies that she has, a lot of those not only can be used in paper crafting, but they also can be used for quilting. So she's come out with some more and more tools to use. Now, this is a die cutting machine. The idea here is I'm not going to use a rotary cutter to cut any of the pieces that I need, the squares, the triangles, quarter square triangles, stuff like that. So I'm going to show you how that works. But before I do that, I want to show you the two existing machines. So this is the Gemini. It's kind of big. It has, I think it's like an 8.5 in space. You see no crank on the side of it because this is an electric machine. So not only is that cool because it's all electric and you don't have to put any power into it, but what if you're the person that, the arthritis, you're not strong enough, just all these different reasons why the crank and the rotary cutter are not working for you. This is one of the options now. So this is the original Gemini, and this is the, this one's got an on and off button. Oh, wait a minute, I might have unplugged it. There. All right. I love the purple button. So this is the Gemini Junior. So a smaller space. And there is a brand new one coming out very, very shortly. You should start hearing about it any day now. And it's called a Go. It's like about this big. And it can do a lot of these dies that I'm going to show you. But it's really compact. And it can be battery operated, which totally cracks me up. The idea of being able to rotary or to do die cutting without electricity at all with a battery is just kind of amazing. So before we start, of course, I want to show you some of the things that I've made with this. So this is one that I made using one of the dies that came with it. All right, I'm gonna say oh, there it is. Okay. I didn't have to trust me on it. I'm going to actually show it to you. So this is one of the dies that is made for cutting fabric. Now it's a little bit deeper and a lot stronger than your normal wafer thin dies is what they call it in paper crafting world. So those of you that already do paper crafting, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those little wafer thin dies from Sizzix and Spellbinders and just everybody on the planet, honest to Pete. These are more than that. But I'm going to show you what some of the other ones can do too. So with this little guy, I had the little clamshell, and I just literally glued them down with a glue stick on top of my background fabric, and then just did a little bit of stitching across the top. This is the sample that I used, I don't know, about 6 months ago or so when I showed you. I'm going to flip this over. I showed you how to do the facing on a quilt, so I did curved edges on the side of the quilt. This is the quilt that I was doing that. And so some of you might recognize that quilt. So those pieces were cut out using the Gemini, and actually the Gemini Junior in particular. Another one that I was been working on, and this is similar to what we are going to work on today, is this one. Now, I know without a shadow of a doubt that there are viewers that are going to go, oh my goodness, it's too busy, I can't handle it. And that's okay, you don't have to, it's mine. I love this kind of thing. I love fabrics that are all mismatched. What I really, really love about these fabrics is these are my fabrics. I painted these fabrics. So I love the fact that these are unique to me. These are the things that I made. And anytime you can dye your own fabric or paint your own fabric or anything like that, and it's yours and nobody else has it, you've got to take a little bit of pride in that. So I'm not going to show you how to do this today, but I do want to give you just a quick overview on tools. Here is, just a few of the ones that I've been making. You can see all these really pretty colors in here. And these are done, the main tool, hiding over here. main tool to do these types of paintings are a gel press plate. Oops, upside down. All right. This is a 12 by 12 gel press plate. It's the squishy that's kind of like, it's like a, I don't know, it's kind of like gelatin, to tell you the truth. These particular ones are actually made by a company that makes medical things and stuff. So I'll do another video, but there is a video on our YouTube channel right now that I did at the AQS show. I was with my friend Barb from Joggles. So this is Joggles, Joggles. She's a wonderful mixed media artist, and this is one of her stencils, one of my absolute favorite stencils that I like to use when I'm painting on fabric. Here is some of the paint that I use. This is Jacquard's Textile Traditions. I also love Jacquard's Luminaire because it's got a little bit of sparkle and shine to it, and I love sparkle and shine. Or with the regular paint, I might use Liquitex Iridescent Mediums. And then the last thing is, this is from Marabou. Marabou is a company in Germany. Their paints are available here in the United States too. They have paints, and this is a fashion spray, and it's got, you can hear the ball in there. That means that it's got sparkle and shine, little guys, those little pigments. You also can use things like, this is an impression plate, I guess you would call it. It's kind of like a stamp, but it's not. This comes from Carabelle Studios. They've got stamps and dies, and these are super duper cool. And then brayers. So those are the kind of supplies you need for doing your own painting. Okay, I'm going to go over here again. Put stuff away. There. But I wanted to show you that because I didn't want somebody going, oh no, where'd you get the fabric? I painted it myself. Like I said, it is on our YouTube channel, so you could take a look at our YouTube channel and see how to do those. So I'm going to move this little guy out of the way, but I want to tell you about how easy it was to do this, cutting out all of these pieces. And it was done using the Gemini. So this is the Gemini box. This is a Gemini Junior box. But it's done using these build-a-block. So I'm going to bring this down here so Athena can get a really good picture of it. This is a build-a-block system. It has the dies in it. I think there's 18 or 20 dies. I could count if I wanted to. You can make 6 different size blocks. So Athena, you keep the camera right there, I think. There's just one example. I mean, look at all, oh, oops, sorry, I hit the button. So look at all those examples of blocks that you can make. I'm going to turn it again. These are the dies that come in this machine, or with this build-a-block system. All right, so I'm going to move it away, and I want to show you this. This is it. All right, comes with a book that gives you a lot of different instructions for making lots of different ones. But look at this. This pulls out. Now, this set I got probably 6 months ago. Since then, they have put labels on here. So this is one that I just wrote what size. Those are the half square triangles, all those different sizes. Whoops. Quarter square triangles, and the last one is squares. All right. So I love how compact they are. All those dies in this one little box. Now, coming soon is this new one. This is the Build-A-Block Plus. That's going to have triangles. What are those called? I can't remember how to say that word. These kind of triangles. You know what? I was teaching Sunday school today. This is going to be TMI. I was teaching Sunday school today, and I was telling the kids, because, you know, we're trying to make kids behave, and I was telling them that I cheated on my spelling test, and the punishment for cheating on your spelling test is that you get to be a 55-year-old adult that doesn't know how to spell. So there you have it. So this is the new kit coming out with rectangles. How do you say it? Do you know, Athena? All of you out there are going to know how to say it. And rectangles. So these kind like this. Whoops. All right. So these are coming in the new block set that I do not think is available yet, but they're working on it now. I got a little sneak peek of it the other day. All right. So this is the dies. These are what we're making. So this is one of the ones I made with it. This is also what I used when I taught the English paper piecing. This was the die, and this was a Gemini die with the stacking of the, hexagons. 1, 2, 3 hexagons, which is a 6. Is that 6? Is a hexagon?
I think so.
Okay, again, I didn't pass geometry either, which totally explains why I'm a professional quilter. So what I want to show you is how easy it is to cut these. Now I'm going to move the little guy out of the way. I'm going to show you him in a second. I'm going to start with the big guy. This is a very powerful machine. I'm really kind of surprised. The machine just keeps going. It keeps going and going and going. And oops, I just unplugged it. Be right back. And that's why this is called a live video. There. All right. I'm going to turn it back on again. And it comes with these plates. So this one is specifically designed for using with fabric. The other one, the Junior, you get some like a magnetic plate and an embossing plate because like I said, this is also used in paper crafting. So you're going to get a cutting plate, this kind of plastic shim, this piece of metal, which I know at this point looks like a piece of tin can, and it's because I've used it an awful lot. And then this one is the one for on top. So that's going to be kind of our layering system. And look at how like they're all wonky. It's like and stuff. That's okay. It gets through that machine and it still seems to cut perfectly every time. So I want to first show you how I would cut. So for ones like this, all right. So this is going to be using a cake. So these 10-inch squares, these pre-packed 10-inch squares that you can buy at the quilt shops. I want to show you that using this. So I'm going to take 2 colors. I'm going to put them right sides together. This machine and these dies can cut through 8 layers of fabric at one time. I'm going to take that 10-inch square, I'm going to fold it once, I'm going to fold it again. Then I'm going to take one of my dies. So I've got some of the dies that I've pulled out here. There's a 4-inch square. This one is, oh, this is the half square triangle. So this is the 4-inch half square triangle. All right, it's going to just fit on there. And then I could, you know what, I'm not going to do that one. Let me go half square triangles. I'm going to go to the 3-inch because if I use the 3-inch, I can do with this 10-inch square, I can do 2 passes with it. So I'm going to take him, going to lay him on straight of the grain, just like you, because if you were cutting it, that's the way you'd want it. Put the sandwich down. And I could, if I wanted to, put another one over here. So I could be cutting squares at the same time. I could be cutting more than just one at a time. And I'm going to do that with the painted fabrics. So I take it and put it in. Hands off. I'm not helping it. It's pulling through. You can hear it go snap, crackle, pop a little bit. That means it's really, really cutting. Now, some people have asked me already, how long... It's going to be silent here in a second. People have asked, how long will the dies last? I think the dies will last forever. I cannot imagine you cutting, and I know that seems a little bit ridiculous that they'll last forever, but seriously, the only thing that you're going to need to replace is the metal shim, which sort of is just like replacing your blade on your rotary cutter. You got to replace a blade on your rotary cutter too. So, and I have noticed that because mine has gotten kind of pivoty like this, it's missing some of the little threads upon occasion, like on the bottom layer. There. All right. So here they are. Now what's cool about them is because I put them right sides together, when I go to sew them, I'm going to pick that 2 set up and I'm going to sew my scant 1/4-inch seam, and I'm not going to have to try to put everything, you know, position my triangles together. They're already together. And then you get to do another one in this case. So I'm going to move this. Oops. I want to cut that out of the way. All right, so now another pass. I'm going to put that 3.5 in. So now this is something else I've learned. The plates, you really need to rotate and flip your plates as you go. That's going to make them last a whole lot longer. So my bottom one, I'm going to take and flip them over. This plastic shim, I'm going to take them over, spin them, and flip them over. And then the metal one, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. That's just going to make it last even longer. Then the top one, I'll do sort of the same thing. Okay? So I'm going to pass it through one more time. So just like before, I'm going to take off my pieces. And that guy, again, 1 or 2 little threads are being held because this isn't as smooth as it was. So now I've got a stack of half square triangles, and I can show you the quick way that we're gonna piece those together. So that's kind of the idea when you're using from the store those 10-inch squares that you can purchase with your collections. But I wanted to today do something with some of my painted fabrics. Ooh, this is another one that came. This is one of the dies, oops, that I had. So this is one of the dies for making a 3-dimensional flower. So I'm gonna flip that over. This is cutting wool. So I cut felted wool to create that. That's how strong this machine is. Cuts through wool without any problem. Okay. So now I'm going to do pretty much what I did before, but now with the painted fabrics, and I'm going to do it more than just one cut. So I take my plates, flip them around like I told you. I have here my painted fabrics. I've got right sides together of 2 contrasting colors so that when I'm doing my half square triangles, I'll have some nice contrasting of the colors. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, this is the back side, so there's the front side and the back side. And I'm only going to do 6 layers. Why am I only going to do 6 layers? Because I have found that because of the paint being on it, so it would be sort of the same idea if you were doing fusibles with this. By adding a fusible, you're adding additional thickness. I found that with the painted fabrics, I want to keep the fabric 6 instead of the full 8. So this time, I'm going to put a square on here. I'm going to put... I don't think that's the right one. Okay, does anybody remember what happened to my...
Is that right there?
4.5 inch die? There it is. Yeah. All right, my 4.5 inch half square triangle die. I'm going to put him over here. Then I've got the... Got to try and remember which ones are that. There we go. That's the 1/4 square triangle. So if you look at that, the half square triangles have a straight edge going down. The 1/4 square triangles go in at an angle. All right, so, and you'll see that in the box, but here I have my 1/4 square triangles. Gonna set that right there. No, I'm gonna set that, yeah, I'll set that over there. I'll scooch this one over here. And then just for kicks and giggles, I'm gonna do another square, so a 2.5 inch square. I've got this kind of one is sort of wonky, so I want to use the best use, get the best use out of my fabric. Okay, and because the metal is kind of bubbling like that, I know it looks funny, but it works. Fold that down. So this time, the sandwich is going to go through, and I'm going to cut out 6 4.5 inch squares, 6 2.5 inch squares, and then the half square triangles for 3 half square triangles and 1.5 1/4 square triangle. And I'm cut that all at once. So you can imagine having a race with your friends going, all right, who can cut the most with all of these different dies? There's no way, because I am fast. You have seen me cut before. I could not cut all of those different shapes and sizes as quickly as this cut. Now, am I trying to rush through anything? No. But you know my theory on all of this. I want to be efficient. I want to be efficient so that I can make more quilts. So that's why this is a good idea. So set him down. Here are my 2.5 inch squares that I'm actually going to use as leaders and enders when then I'll have lots of little 4 patches left over. These are the 4.5 inch squares. But these are the super cool ones. This is the half square triangles and the 1/4 square triangles. All right. So I'm going to take this now over to my machine. Now I want you to keep watching. This is going to be a little tedious because this is live, but I'm going to sew these together. I'm going to show you how quickly they sew together. But then I want you to keep watching because I also want to show you a technique for constructing blocks that's a little bit unique. I learned it a long time ago from Sharon Craig, who, if you've ever watched any of my shows, you know that I think that Sharon Craig is brilliant. Well, this was a technique that I learned from her, and I thought it was really cool when you're piecing a traditional block like this. So Athena is going to very carefully get down off that chair. We have extra steps for her today. Then we're going to come over here to the sewing machine. Okay. So on my sewing machine, I've got my guidelines for my scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this is what that package looks like. Comes in a pack of 6. You can pretty much find them at any quilt shop at all. Comes with 6 in them. Have those on all the time. I've got some extra lights here, trying to make it so that everybody can see what I'm doing. Oops, but I gotta scooch those over. Okay, stop that. All right, because I want to design my block. No, I don't want to design my block. I want to first sew these half square triangles together, then I will. So because remember I put the right sides together, they're already positioned. So I'm going to start sewing at that little corner and end at the other corner. And using the guidelines for quilting, you can see how quickly that works. All right, so that's one. Oops, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to do that, but now I want to do the quarter square triangles because I remember I want to actually do a different kind of a block. So we'll do a couple of different things. So this is the quarter square triangle. So I'm going to start this one on the side. Quarter square triangle means that it's going to have 4 triangles constructing the square. And as always, I'm going to chain piece. Everything is already right sides together. So that's going to make this process very efficient. I'm not going to say fast, or else people go, why are you always trying to go so fast? I'm not trying to go fast, I'm trying to be efficient. Right, so get down here to the end, and then I mentioned that I had those squares. Oh my goodness, what did I do with them? Okay, stay right there. Did I not bring them over? There they are. All right, you also probably know by now that I'm one of the most disorganized people you'll ever meet in your life. And one of the cool things about doing these live videos is that means I have to clean my studio every once in a while. And my daughter-in-law really loves that I'm doing that because she's the one that helped me organize it. So using my squares as a ender and leaders. So now I'm just going to cut these off. So we're going to go to the ironing board now. Actually, why don't you guys just stay... I don't know that Athena has anything exciting to show you because there's no kittens around. So I guess we could go to the ironing board. Do you want to go to the ironing board? Okay, let's go to the ironing board. And some of you might be looking at my studio going, I thought she said she cleaned it. I did. If you can't tell this is clean, you should have seen it before. All right. So this is one that I've kind of done before. I want to show you a quickie technique. I've done this before in the Learning to Quilt video. So this is a 4-patch unit, but I want to separate those seams. Now I used a very light colored thread so you can't really see, but I'm going to take out, whoops, oh, jeepers creepers. Let me get a seam ripper because that would be the right tool for the job. I want to pluck out those last couple of stitches on this side and pluck out those last couple of stitches on this side. So now when I press this, I can separate that seam. So I've done this a lot of times where you see that seam separates there. So you have to stand back. I don't want you to get steamed. So when you press it,
it would have been a free facial.
It would have been a free steaming. It would have been a facial.
Free facial.
Oh, there it goes again. Sorry. Does that steam up the camera too?
No.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So that makes a beautiful 9-patch. So that's the little seam separating in the back. Now I'm going to take these. This is my quarter square triangles that we just pieced together. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have cut them apart if I were thinking about it. Going to set the seam. And this one is a half square triangle because I accidentally pieced it together. I'm going to separate that. Ooh, there. And it's beautiful. These are, again, those painted fabrics using some of the stencils. This one, this feathery one, that's one of the joggle stencils. I love those. It kind of is, it just is similar to quilting, something about it. This floral stencil, again, that's one of the joggles one. This one has the impression plate from the Carabelle. So that's the impression plate, the alphabet on there. All right. So now we're going to go back to the machine and we're going to make these into split quarter square triangles. A split quarter square triangle is when you're using 2 quarter triangles and piecing them with a half square triangle. So there it is. All right. So I'm going to take the quarter square triangle and the half square triangle and I'm going to piece those together. Wait a minute, I don't think I've got the right size there. Oh no. Okay. Oh my goodness. Because I switched out the size triangles, I cut the wrong size. Oh, I'm so bummed. All right, we're just going to wing it. So I want you to imagine, if you will, these would actually fit perfectly together. This is such a bummer. Do I have any that are the right size? I don't. So we're not going to make split quarter square triangles. We're going to make all quarter square triangles and half square triangles. Jeepers creepers. You have no idea how much I actually prepped for this, and then I still, don't do it exactly the right way every time. And that's why this is a live video. I do sew over my pins, but you see how the ball head of the pin is off the edge of the guidelines for quilting. So that means the pin is not raised up, and I'm able to sew right over it without a problem. You also noticed I slowed down a little bit when I was doing that. So let's see, what else can I make here with all these odd size things that I have? That's 2 pieces of fabric there. Oh my goodness.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh, they're actually right sides together already. So we're going to make a half square triangle. Because I need to have 4 of these and 4 squares so I can show you the technique. And I think I'm going to end up with some odd size pieces. So we actually might have to, hey, this will be fun. We'll actually use the dies to cut these down. Yeah, we could do it with a rotary cutter for sure. Wait a minute, I got an orange and an orange. Let's put an orange with a blue. But we're going to have to square these down to up to or down to a specific size for me to show you the last thing I want to show you. And one more. And I have really no idea what size we have. Those little squares that I have to be my enders, to have a lot of little guys at the end, all these little squares that I'll have. I'll be able to place them into something. All right, so I have those. I think the squares are going to be okay. All right, so let's go press these now. Okay, watch out for the cord.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody be watching. We don't want an incident like we had last time. For those
Nobody
of you
needs
that
to
weren't
see that
with
again.
us, the last time we did a Facebook Live and Athena walked up those steps, she kind of, well, she didn't face plant, but she wasn't really graceful either. But she didn't get hurt at all. Nobody was hurt in the making of this quilting video.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? So with those quarter square triangles, I'm going to do that same seam separating that I do with the 4-patch unit. So anything that is a 4-patch unit can be seam separated. It comes apart and flips right open. So instead of going to one side and that having a really heavy seam, when you open it up like that, it just makes everything a little bit flatter. And you just want that whenever possible. There's probably no way you can get that to happen in all parts of the quilt, but if you can try and do that as much as possible, just try and keep things nice and flat. Okay. Half C's. And you could do this with, if you just took, 2 or 3 fabrics and you were using something more traditional, I think that you can imagine the different ways that you could do this. I just prefer to use lots of fabric when I'm making things. I like to have lots of different colors going on. It is my aesthetic. It is not everybody's aesthetic, and I hope you can appreciate different people's quilting art, that everybody does something different. The technique is the same for everybody, but the colors that you use, the way that you put your shapes together, that's going to be unique to everybody. Okay, so I'm going to get the squares, so just stay right there. I'm going to use this square kind of as a design plate so that I can put them on top of it. All right, so I want to make something similar to a shoe fly. So I'm going to start with 1, 2 squares. No, the squares are here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Nope, let's do this one. So we've got kind of 2 little oranges and 2 in a reddish variety. Nope. So let's do him. There's all my half square triangles. 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to swap that around. Actually, I think I'm going to swap. Oh, I guess that's okay. And then in the center, I'm going to put the quarter square triangle, right? Yep, I know. It's too busy for some people. So I'm going to take these 9 pieces, going to position them over there by my sewing machine, and I want to show you this cool technique for piecing that is just, it's just kind of efficient. It's another one of those efficiency things, okay? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. All right, I'll meet you at the sewing machine. And again, I know these are wild colors, but you can choose any colors you want. So I'm going to take the phone from Athena real quick so I can get this shot. Okay, oops, sorry, excuse my thumb. All right, so there is just kind of a traditional 9-patch using half square triangles, quarter square triangles, and some regular squares, okay? So I'm going to give it back to Athena. I already have my 2.5-inch square leader in there. I'm going to reach over and grab from the top row these 2 pieces. I'm going to take this one, flip it over onto the top, and bring it to the sewing machine and sew with my scant 1/4-inch seam allowance. Oops, I bounced around a little bit there. All right, so just like always, I'm going to do chain piecing. So I'm going to come back here to the ones that are here. I'm going to take the center block, flip it over on top, and now I'm going to sew this seam. Chain piece, come to the last row. Gonna grab this little guy, flip him over to the top. So bear with me here a second. You'll see what I'm gonna do. Now I'm gonna grab my 2.5-inch squares that are gonna be my little leader guy here at the end. And do I have my scissors here? Okay. Stay right there. Scissors. Okay, I'm going to spin this around and cut those that I cut off from my leader. Put him back into place. Now I'm going to take these and put them back into the design. So here was the 3rd column. Oops. Cut that little guy off there. So you can see now that my design is back together. Right? Just like this. So I'm not going to cut these apart. Those still have that little chain in there of the threads. I am not going to cut them apart. I'm going to grab this top one from the 3rd column and flip it into place. And I'm going to pick up this whole chain and sew that together. Position it. I'm going to chain piece again. This is the next guy in line. Here is the piece that goes on him. Flip him over on top. And because my 1/4 square triangles were cut not from the correct size, they're a little bigger than it's supposed to be. And then the bottom row. So this is this one, and this little guy goes on. So the idea here, it's going to break one of the cardinal quilting rules. There's a quilting rule out there that honestly, most of the time I stand by. The idea of never sewing over a seam until the seam has been pressed. For this technique, and I'm going to show you just a little version of it, I don't do that. So here is 2 little 2.5-inch squares. Do you not hate it when your fabrics don't come apart? I know you've all been there. All right, so here's a 2-patch, And here's another 2 patch. I'm going to flip those like that. I have not pressed these seams, but I'm going to put them together anyway. I'm going to open it up. I can see in here, and I'm going to slide that seam until it butts right next to the other. Then I'm going to grab a pin and pin it right there on the seam. And I'm going to sew over this. And so some people right now are going, wait a minute, you can't do that. You haven't pressed the seam. You know what? When you're doing a lot of precise work, lots of points, things like that, I totally stand by that. But when you're doing something simple, like a little 9 patch and stuff, this actually is a way to do that. It works. So here is that block, all right? Everything is still connected here by these threads, so the chain piecing threads. I'm going to take my top row, I'm going to flip it on top, and you can see that those connecting threads are keeping everything lined up together. I did not cut them apart. Gonna slide it until it butts right to it. Put in a pin to lock that seam. Come to my second one. And it's really, I mean, it doesn't let you get them out of position. If you've only got that single chain, all right, now we're going to sew it. If you've only got that single chain between the 2 pieces, it really helps hold everything together. Now, this does take some practice. I've been able to do it with, I don't know, 4 or 5 different blocks at a time, just kind of stacking up my blocks. Once you get the process down, it kind of makes sense, and it makes things go really fast. Because seams are not pressed, sometimes you're going to have to reach under like I just did to make sure that the, and this one's not the right size. Remember, my quarter square triangle is too big, so that's why you can see it. So sometimes because it's not pressed, you want to reach under there and make sure that the seam is going in the direction that you want it to go, because you're still going to do that is the same, you know, the having your seams go in opposite directions. All right, now I'm done with that row, and so I really should be grabbing another 2.5 inch square, but I'm all out, so I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap. There. I'm going to cut off that little 4 patch that I'll press up there in a minute. Take my pins out. That's the first row done. Now I'm going to do the second row. I'm going to do the same idea. Just flip it over on top. I've got that chain is connecting it together. Going to slide, just, and then I can feel that the seams have butt right together. That was quilting sound effects for some of you that didn't know what that was. All right, so this one's going to come again. It's just going to slide right to it and pin it. Now, when I took the class with Sharon Craig, who's the one that taught me that technique, she did not do any pinning. She just kept them right there, and her stuff was just phenomenal. I'm a pinner. I pin it anyway, but just know that it doesn't have to be. If you're, you know, feeling what you're doing, and really that's really what it is feeling the fabrics and know what's going on. All right, Athena has a little bit of a cold. I'm hoping she's not going to sneeze on us here in a second. You okay?
I'm good.
Uh-huh, yep. She's making that face, that face when you think you're going to sneeze. She had the same face in church today. It was hilarious. All right. So now the block is pieced, and the rest of what I'm going to do is at the ironing board. So let's go on up. Oh, I love those fabrics. So this is what the block looks like now. From the front, not so pretty yet because nothing's pressed. And even from the back, everything just doesn't look as precise as you normally would. So when I'm pressing this, I'm going to press it kind of one row at a time. Start with this one. Flip it around. And so you can see that I'm kind of giving it a little, okay, Athena is so close to sneezing, you guys. Be prepared for this.
I'm good.
But I'm kind of pulling it off to the left-hand side as I'm pressing. Oh, I keep catching that. There. And pressing as patiently as I ever do. I don't rush the pressing when I'm doing this way. It's just not done when I'm constructing the block like normal. And I come to this way. Now this is what I do at this point. I find it easiest to get those seams if I lay it down. So now I'm going to press this seam. So kind of that, you know, I like to press my seams before I press them in their direction, and flip it up. There we go. Then we'll do the same thing with this one on the other side. Press that seam flat first. Into position. I do see I missed one here. One intersection is not as precise as I would normally like, and I'm going to show you because I'm going to tell you what I would do with it. All right. So can you see this intersection here where the yellow and the purple are not exactly met? All right, it's not exactly right. So this is what I'm going to do with it. Absolutely nothing. Yep, it's going to make me happy. It's there. It happens. I'm not a perfectionist. So that's kind of this different technique for piece and block. So I want to show you one more thing. Oh, I got something to show you back at the cutting board too. So these are some of the ones that I made over the weekend. All right, simple, all using the Gemini cutting. Here's just a normal 9 patch. And these all came from, I think it was 2 10-piece packs that I had, 10-inch packs that I had. So I'm going to take all of these different guys from the same 10-inch packs. I'm going to take squares. Stay right there, Athena. I'm going to take these squares. I've got 2 squares of the same color that happen to be in the pack. I'm going to cut them on the diagonal, and I'm going to piece them onto these blocks so that the blocks will be on point, because I always believe that on point makes everything better. Everything is better when it's on point. And it's going to give me the ability to use these triangles as coping triangles. So I'm going to be able to square these guys up to whatever size I want. So here I've got 2 different gray colors. Again, some people are going to say, I don't like your colors, and that's okay. It's my quilt, not yours. So sometimes it's a simpler kind of gray. Sometimes it's not so much. Used a lot of different fabrics. So now I want to go back to the cutting machine. I want to show you one more thing that the Gemini can do. Okay? All right. I don't know what you guys are seeing on the floor. I'm glad I swept. So this one is going to be with the Gemini Junior. I talked about how the Gemini is created for paper crafting. That's where it got its legs, is through paper crafting. These new dies are a thicker type of a die, so it's going to cut the fabric perfectly. But sometimes you might have a more traditional die, a more traditional wafer die that you want to use to cut out fabrics. You can do it. You can do it with the Gemini. So this is one, let me see if I've got one. So this is from a company called Couture Creations. Now they came out with these, and the idea was that they would cut fabric, and they can. They can cut a couple of layers of fabric. I'm going to use these to cut some fabrics now using the Gemini. So I told you you could use different brands, and I just found these circles, and I thought, oh my goodness, I always need die cuttings, circles, all those different sizes. And then this is another set they had that cuts out 10 little teeny 3/4 inch circles at the same time, which to me is screaming berries, can be used as berries. So what I've done is I've got the same type of a layering process. Here is that first bottom shim. And instead of just the plastic shim, that kind of white one, I also am going to add their magnetic shim. So this is the magnetic shim that comes with the Gemini Junior, and one comes with the big Gemini. And then at that other plate, then my metal plate. And this time the fabrics, I have just one layer of fabric, but the fabric has the steam-a-seam on the back of them. Because if I'm going to do little teeny circles like that, I am going to want to fuse them down. So just lay these guys on top of it. I actually bought 2 packs of those guys and one more on top. Now what's different about this is because I'm using somebody else's wafer dies that are a little thinner than the ones that come from the Gemini, I had to add that additional shim. I had to try this a couple of times to find out what the layering is. So you've got to figure out what sandwich works best for the materials that you're cutting, all right? So I'm going to pass this through. Now keep in mind that this can cut cork and thin wood. I think I've even seen them cut like tin can. I don't know why it doesn't cut the metal, but it doesn't. But it can cut a tin can. It can cut all sorts of different materials. So now this goes through, and I take off these dies, and I've got a gazillion little circles cut out. So what am I going to do with those? I don't know, but I just can't imagine that I'm not going to find something in the very foreseeable future to use all of those little circles on. So there you have it. That is kind of my review and instructions on using the Gemini fabric cutting machines with the build a block system. I talked about this one with the different size triangles to come soon. To keep your eye out for that in the market. You'll be seeing that. I like this machine. I really like it. I mean, for a die cutting machine, most of them can just pretty much cut one thing at a time. This, you've got a lot of choices. They do have other dies out there also that can be used for applique. So keep your eyes open for those too. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. I hope that you are already subscribed to our channel. Some people have told me that they don't get the notifications when I'm doing a video or when we release a new video. You need to be sure that you click that little bell. So subscribing gets you subscribed, but that little bell gives you a notification when we post a new video or when we're doing something live. So take a look at that. You can get all of this information on our website, onpoint-tv. Also a reminder, we are selling the pattern and the kit for my pin cushion. So if you are interested in that, you can again go to onpoint-tv and you can purchase that there. If you have any questions, you can contact me at quiltingwithnancy@gmail.com. And I hope you all have the wonderful rest of your Sunday afternoon.